It's never too early to think about the 2026 NASCAR season. And hey, who doesn't love a good fantasy draft? Come with us as we pick some of our favorite drivers for the NASCAR season in Fantasy 2026. Down the back.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
Two for the
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Backroad. It is In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. Elliot Hicks, Seth Woolcock, Rod Villagomez, all here with you tonight. One of our fun off-season specials. We brought it to you last year. We did a little prospect draft. This year, it's a full-on fantasy draft as we pick three of our top guys for if we're starting our own Cup Series team, as well as in the O'Reilly Series. That's still fun to get used to saying. And the Truck Series as well. That's just part of a fun show that we got tonight, and good to be back with the both of you. Seth, how you doing tonight?
Boys, great to see you as always, coming off just a fantastic holiday weekend, a lot of traveling, a lot of time spent on the road. So very good to see you again. But I will say you're usually my friends. Tonight you are my foes. I'm going head to head and hoping to come out with the best team of the night. So Rod, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing fantastic. Just keeping busy, trying to while the days away until the Daytona 500 or really even until the Clash. And it feels like it's forever, and yet when you wake up tomorrow morning, it's going to be one day closer. So I'm good.
Yeah, the auto racing off season always brings some specialties there, but it always flies by. Got to enjoy the little bit of slow time though, as we'll do on tonight's show. When we start off, we'll take a look at some of the news of the week and talk just a tiny bit about what's been going on in NASCAR, even though we'll save a full breakdown for kind of after everything's done. Then in our drafter pass, we will bring you our little minor fantasy draft we got going for this year. And then
this ain't little. This ain't little, baby. This is as thick as the stash. It was going down.
I think I'm just more used to, part of my time in high school was not necessarily spent going to parties or doing this or that. It was a Friday night on MLB The Show drafting a full, Madden NFL drafting the full 53-man roster and then playing about 2 games. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. After we get done with that draft, we'll devote a little bit of time to Formula One. The major motorsports calendar in 2025 will be closed out with a tight championship battle at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So we got some bets for that as well that we'll talk about. And before we get to all that, though, we want to start with something that we've been meaning to do for a couple weeks. We got some championship giveaways that we got to reveal, Seth.
Yes, absolutely. We are very excited to announce the giveaway winner for this is the one and only Marcus is the one who's taking home this. So Marcus, let us know, send us an email or I'll get a hold of you, Marcus. I'll DM you a link. You can send us a contact form on the site and then we can go ahead and get that shipped out to you. But Marcus, congratulations on that. Appreciate all the support on the channel. It was Marcus's winning comment of Christopher Bell winning the championship was his prediction. Of course, that did not come true, but he still won anyways, Elliot.
Yeah, we just wanted people to predict just as we always do. And you can throw your thoughts in the comments tonight as you watch along, flaming our draft picks, flaming our bets for F1, or throwing your handicaps or your draft picks in if you guys want as well. And hey, with the giveaways, we do have some more of the micro giveaways that we'll do in the comments going into next season. But the best way to enter our giveaways comes as part of the IBT Racing family, $3.99 a month, $36 for the year. When we get back into the full swing of NASCAR, it'll have our full weekly betting cards in there as well. The betting model will get fired back up. Helped us win quite a lot this past year. And, of course, you can join the conversation with all three of us, with Ryan from My Fantasy Race and our great little community over there. And it's been a lot of fun this year. I don't even know what else to – if we can have the same, the general happiness, I guess I'll say, of what that community has been for us this year.
I will say that, yes, but I think 2026, as always, it's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. We got some interactive contests we're going to start going down on, and also just adding more sports, more things to get involved with kind of across the entire IBT network. So very excited for that. And let's keep the bets coming. And I know I'll be loading my betting card in there for F1 here right after this, and already have a full college football card in there for the week. Little Thursday night football action going down on our former Pittsburgh Steelers, actually, Elliot and George Pickens. I took George Pickens took him today for a little prop action.
Yeah, Dallas playing in the Thursday night game. It's not just the racing family you join. You get the IBT football family. And like you said, Seth, all the stuff that we'll add throughout the year to come in 2026 that we're excited for. Shout out to everyone on the audio version, Apple Podcasts, everyone down in Western Tennessee, 101.5 FM, 8 o'clock Saturday nights. You can listen to us. Links to all the fun stuff we got going on in the episode description. Also, the best way to know what's going on, we got our X and Twitter handles right up there between _SethFF, EHicks39, and RJ Villagomez for what you got going on, Rod. Always lots of fun in your world as well.
Yeah, it's also tiring too. So if you could get an app as a tweet, then I would more than happily take that.
It'll be enjoyable. And hey, we'll have a lot of fun with this one tonight. We got to take a look back in the rear view and take a look at this week's Fast Lap news. We will have our own little drop clip for that in next season stuff. For now, we're throwing the rear view, though, because always nice to have those little transitions to move on. So as we teased in our most recent episode that came out while you were traveling on Thanksgiving, hope everyone enjoyed their holiday weekend. We said we would talk a little bit about NASCAR, the trial going on between NASCAR being sued by 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. What's going to be easiest for us is not to just essentially regurgitate everything that your Bob Pockris is, your Jeff Glucks, Jordan Bianchi's, everybody doing a great job, boots on the ground there, the real NASCAR beat reporters out there. We'll give a full report at trial's end on everything that's going to happen, how it's going to affect, most importantly, the betting cards, but also the sport as a whole. But so far, just a little bit of what's happened. Denny Hamlin, Bob Jenkins, the owner of Front Row Motorsports, and NASCAR executives Scott Prime and Steve O'Donnell have all given testimony. A lot of other names on the witness list, which also includes Richard Childress, who, his fiery personality paired with the text that came out that haven't been seen by the jury, but have been seen by everybody else in the sport, where they called him dumb redneck and all that kind of stuff. He'll be fiery on the stand for sure, just as all four of the witnesses that have been called so far have been fiery at points. I don't know how much you guys have been following this, but I do want to open the door to some additional commentary on this from what you guys have seen. Seth, we'll start with you.
Yeah, first of all, can't wait to see RC up there because if I know one thing about old Richie, he's going to be out there and speaking his mind. So excited for that. Honestly, I just want to take a moment to realize the inflection point we are at right now in the sport of NASCAR. Right, I think this will be a moment that goes down in the history of the sport. Maybe arguably the biggest moment in our lifetime, aside from one Daytona 500 back in 2001. But really, this is an incredible moment, and it sucks that this is kind of how it has to go down. And you're learning a lot. And as you mentioned, shout out to the folks at The Athletic and Bob Pockris and everyone else out there covering this. We really appreciate all of the coverage and just the information that's getting gained here, especially it's pen and paper, right? You're not having electronic devices in there. So great to see that. And hopefully everything comes to a head here in the right way.
Yeah. Old school journalism. It speaks to both of our hearts. I know.
Yeah.
I'm sure to yours as well.
Yeah, and really what's amazing too is that mix of old school journalism, but instantaneousness of the teardown right afterwards. That's giving everything to everybody out there, again, almost in real time, not necessarily in real time, but Seth, I think you're absolutely right. This is probably the biggest, because the old guard of NASCAR remembers things one way. And I feel like this may be just the world in general, right? Where the old guys like me and some other folks that are out there, they remember the old days of things. And then as the things start to change, right, there's a little pushback, there's mutations of it, there's permutations of different things. And we're at that point now. We're at the point where we're watching this sport, the future pretty much hang in the balance. How is it going to look in 2026? I guess the jury will decide that.
Yeah, those teardown episodes, those have been entertaining listens on my commutes to and from work, and I'm sure during your guys' days as well. Interesting to see. They're going to try to have it wrapped up by the middle of next week, so everything coming thick and fast. They want to get the jury in and out and get the decision done. Trying to not have it retried. We don't want this in the courts for years. I don't think anybody wants that. But it will be exciting to continue to watch there. Some other silly season news that dropped too. On the Cup Series side, a couple of things. A little less important. No insult to Ty Dillon. There were good things he did in times where he was exciting to watch. But 2026 Colleague Cup Series, maybe not going to be so great. But he will be full-time in that Colleague number 10 again next year. What is more interesting that is not being talked about as much, I think, because of the trial, is it has been confirmed that Chris Gabehart has departed Joe Gibbs Racing, and it is rumored he could be taking the competition director spot at Spire. That's not official yet, but just the fact that he's now out the door at JGR, obviously a big part of all 4 teams over there, a big part of Denny Hamlin's team, and going from a top role over there to now being out of there, definitely a big adjustment for JGR, Rob.
Yeah, and I guess with the lawsuit and everything notwithstanding, right, Denny Hamlin and the whole JGR, it feels like, right, this is one of those, I guess, consequences of what's happening right now. I don't know if it is. I don't know what the reporting around it was, but yeah, this is huge, a huge piece of the puzzle that they're losing.
I don't feel great about it. Right? I think Chris Gabehart deserves so much credit for just the overall success we saw last year from Joe Gibbs Racing. Despite them not winning the championship, I would say that was one of the more successful seasons of the past, right? At least in the next gen era, I would probably say. And I think Chris Gabehart, getting back on the box at the end of the year for Ty Gibbs as well, also a very notable decision. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, is this just a situation you think, Elliot, where, hey, like it had run its course, or is it just, hey, Spire has deep pockets and Chris Gabehart wanted to move on?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. It could be any one of those different things. One of those things that people haven't been able to take a deep dive into because all the reporters are in the courtroom, every hour of the day, but something that we'll hear about. And we'll talk more about what his impact on Spire could be if and when he does go there. Definitely an organization on the up and up that bringing somebody like that in can only help them out. So that'll be interesting to watch. On the O'Reilly side, a couple small items. Rajah Caruth is confirmed for 10 races in the Jordan Anderson number 32 to fill out his 2026 schedule. So that'll be important to watch next year. You're probably more likely to bet Rajah when he's in the 88 rather than the 32. Of course, we'll let you know week in, week out what car everyone is driving to make sure that you can place your bets in the best way possible. Same thing with the JGR number 19. Most of the races, it'll be Brent Cruz, the young prospect in that car. But for Daytona, Atlanta, Las Vegas, and Darlington, some of the larger ovals that run early in the year, he's ineligible to run those before turning 18 at the end of March. So he will miss 4 races. More than likely, he'll get a playoff waiver, though, to run the rest of them. Those are the 2 that'll definitely affect the betting cards a little more than the other 2. And Seth, it looks like you may have a comment on this as well.
Over under 0.5 wins for Brent Cruz. I think I'm taking the over based on what we saw last year in his limited time in the Truck Series. This is a guy who, he's bad fast, boys. He is bad fast. And I think, he's not on the Zilich level, so I wouldn't take over 1.5, but I'd certainly lay a couple of units maybe down on a 0.5. What about you guys?
That's definitely a tempting one. We saw the 19 car was fast. JGR car is pretty fast, but maybe Taylor Gray was not quite as good as a prospect, but it took him to the end of the year to win one. We didn't see Sawalich win a race. So JGR is good, but I don't know if Kid missing the first couple of races, running hot, is going to get a win right away. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's tough to call. You want to say it because the 19 car pretty much drives itself into victory lane when it's there. But yeah, it's not Eric Almirola style. But listen, it's fun, right? This is make NASCAR betting fun again is the new motto of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. And I feel like this is a fun one to lay some coin on.
Yeah, some other fun moves that at least will be fun when we go to the super speedways. Anthony Alfredo going to drive for Viking Motorsports. Of course, that's the 99 car that DiBenedetto drove most of last year. Parker Retzlaff is in the 99. They're expanding to 2 cars. Alfredo will be in the 96. So kind of getting back in a better car there after a couple of years bouncing around. Josh Bilicki will drive the 07 full-time, a guy that could be worth watching on road courses as well.
Josh.
For SS Greenlight there. A couple, especially Viking, they could be an intriguing team to watch with a couple of drivers that, Retzlaff, an underrated young prospect, but Alfredo, a guy who's been the sim driver for Hemric for a couple of years, and a guy who we've seen occasionally have good runs, like winning the Dash for Cash when we were at Dover a couple of years ago. He'll be paired with the same crew chief that he was at Our Motorsports. I believe his name is Josh Graham, if I have that correct. But either way, exciting for Fast Pasta, continuing his move up the ladder again.
Hey, man, we'll be looking for both Viking cars. I think anytime we get to Super Speedway in the Xfinity Series, right, or O'Reilly Auto Parts Series now in 2026. So I think this is a great little pair. I think it's better than what Alfredo was dealing with last year. I'm not sure still like where this meets up. And Rod, maybe you can give a little clarity, but how it compares to his 2024 ride with Our Motorsports when he took them on quite the run. And as you allude to there, Elliot did win that Dash for Cash at Dover.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've seen some of these drivers elevate, Cup drivers. Harrison Burton did it with AM Racing last year, right? So maybe this is a chance where Anthony can sort of elevate the equipment that he's in. We know he's good, right? We know that he is a solid performer week in and week out that we can count on, especially for DFS purposes. But yeah, I think this just may be one of those instances where he's going to have to outperform what he's in.
Loves racing. This guy loves racing, man. I'll tell you what, like, I was over the holiday, I was, gathering some more stuff for future IBT and Backroad giveaways out there on some of these Black Friday deals, Elliot. I was able to score one die cast of one of our favorite drivers, BJ McLeod. And I would love maybe a little Alfredo Viking die cast in the future or something like that.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Black Friday sales were much kinder to my wallet this year than in past years. But
oh, you're learning, buddy. You're learning.
Yeah, but so it will be exciting to watch in the O'Reilly series. You're right, Seth. I probably did say Xfinity 3 or 4 times, just absentmindedly. I'm not sure if I did or not, but
I don't think you did. I think I did, if anything.
Maybe I was professional enough. But either way, new title sponsors will be fun to watch. And we are going to involve the O'Reilly series in our 2026 fantasy draft. In our draft or pass, not draft to pass. You can draft to pass, but this is draft or pass.
5.5 now quarter, half 5, 75, sold your way 65.
That's pretty cool.
21, Andy Rock, 21, Rockstar.
Little throwback to the early days of the Backroad there. I didn't remember what that segment was.
No, that's the first time I had heard that drop. I'm glad it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
I played it earlier when I put the graphics in, and as soon as I heard the auctioneer voice, I was like, oh yeah, now it's coming back. Like I said, the parameters of our draft, we're going to run 3 cup cars in our little fantasy teams here, picking from a top-tier driver in the series, a mid-tier driver, and a low-tier driver. We didn't have very strict definitions on those. So it could have gone a lot of different ways, but I feel like we all kind of stuck within those parameters of top tier, mid tier, and low tier. And then also picking one driver each in the 2026 O'Reilly series and truck series schedules. So we start with our top tier guys. For me, I went in the direction of Ryan Blaney, the number 12. Really good season for him in 2025, career high of 4 wins and 15 top 5s. Overall, just a guy who's been extraordinarily successful ever since coming to the cup level. 17 career cup wins. Obviously, the champion in 2023. Could have maybe had a couple more depending on the playoff formats and how things go with his teammate in another yellow car there. And I feel like he's a guy that may even just now be starting to hit his prime. He'll be in his age 32 season in 2026. So Ryan Blaney, the guy out of everyone in the garage that I would want to build my team around.
I think it's a solid pick, right? Like, he probably would be close. You were the 101 here. You got to it first. So I think he probably is in consideration for everyone's 101. Not many weak spots for Ryan Blaney, right? Like, there's not a track type that I really think he struggles at. He's gotten a lot better at road courses, at least average running position terms over the past calendar year. I'd like to see him get those finishes up there at road courses, but one of the best super speedway drivers and super consistent, all the 1.5 miles and dangerous when we get to those short tracks.
Yeah, for me, there's that intangibleness, the drive that you see it every time he gets in the car. You see it every time he gets out of the car and he performs well. And for me, that type of attitude, and more importantly, I'm a guy, I like to humble. I like to be humble. I like people that I cheer for to be humble, because to me, humility shows strength. And Ryan Blaney's not a loud, boisterous driver that's going to thump his chest every time he does something. Will he get happy and emotional? Yeah, but everybody does. But he's not going to wear it on his sleeve. And like that to me is a good leader, and it's a good person to build your team around.
Yeah, that's funny, those intangibles that you mentioned, Rod, because I feel like all 3 of us kind of picked drivers along those lines, including a guy who before this year, Seth, I don't think we would have considered a top-tier driver, but undoubtedly put himself in the top tier with how his season went in 25.
Yeah, it's Chase Briscoe, and it's purely because the fact that I think he is just now scratching the surface of what Chase Briscoe can be as a NASCAR Cup Series driver in elite equipment, right? I mean, I think if you look at 2026 and we're lining everyone up, maybe he's not the favorite, but I think he has the most upside of this year, maybe more than anybody, right? And when you look at him, kind of like Blaney as well, I don't see a lot of weaknesses from him. He's a pretty dang good super speedway racer. We know he had a couple poles out there last year on the drafting tracks. At the same time, this guy's become a weapon at intermediates like Pocono and the shorter flat tracks. He's been a weapon at. So I really think that he's someone you can trust moving forward, specifically this year in fantasy, where, you come out, he had 13 career top fives coming into last year. He got 15 last year, tied for the most in this year. It's only 2 career wins. He got 3 of them last year, had 2 poles coming in 2024. He got 7 last year, a series best, and also had 525 laps led coming into last season. He now this year just had almost 900, the 4th most in the series. So I think when you're looking at Chase Briscoe from like a holistic standpoint, it's only on the up and up, because it took him a little bit to get his feet under him in JGR equipment. He's talked about that, right? And I think from the beginning of the year on the intermediates, he was really qualifying well, but he was just consistently falling back. Like if you were betting Chase Briscoe at the beginning of the year, anything but a pole bet, you're pretty frustrated. But then he started to finally put together some full races. So I think that's what you're going to get from the jump in 2026 and moving forward. That's why he's my top pick in this year's fantasy draft.
Yeah, no complaints here at all. Like you said, a guy that really built himself out to be well-rounded. So you're going to be starting up front probably more than either of our picks, that's for sure, with how good of a year he had in qualifying. And, yeah, just getting used to driving a good car. He's used to it now, Rob.
Oh, yeah. I love that interview. It's like, I just didn't know how to drive this kind of a car. I've never driven a car this fast before. And that's fair, right? I mean, because a lot of times when you're stuck in that middling equipment, you're wanting more speed. And then you get more speed and you're like, wait, I've never done that. So I need to figure out how to actually drive fast under control.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Briscoe going to be a guy exciting to watch in 2026 as well. And Rod, for your top driver pick, you stay in the JGR family.
And I pander to the audience. Marcus, hi. I do agree that the Christopher Bell is the guy that you want to sort of build your team around, because Christopher Bell has been consistent since he started to figure out how to win in this series, right? Championship 4 until the last couple of seasons where he bounced out. But I mean, Christopher Bell has just been that stalwart, right? He wins races. He has top 10 finishes. He had 22 of them last year. Granted, there's only 36 races. He 22 top 10s last year. His average finish just over 11. Consistency is key, right? I know that there's drivers that have higher ceilings than Christopher Bell when it comes to championship, which means they win. But there's nobody that really has a lower floor than Christopher Bell, because we've seen every single year him come out and be in that championship contention by the end of it. And if he's not, he doesn't miss it by much, right? So for Christopher Bell, you have the upside of winning races 3 in a row last year, and you just have the stability of knowing that your driver's not going to be, he only had 3 DNFs last year as well. So it's not as if he was in the fracas and getting himself knocked out. So like I said, consistency is key in a top tier driver. And when you can count on a guy like Christopher Bell to just be there every single week, how can you pass that up?
Yeah, Rod, you may have a little advantage on us with that. Bell, one of those guys that even though he hasn't reached the ceiling of a championship like Blaney or the ceiling of a championship 4 in the last couple of years, you don't see those runs of just either poor finishes or mechanical problems like you saw with Blaney at the beginning of this year, even with speed. And you see consistent speed, not really falling back in most races like you would see with Briscoe, at least early on.
Yeah, 100% agreed with that, because there was a time back in the 2023 and 2024 season, not really discussed as prominently, but Christopher Bell also was a guy who kind of would go through a summer slump, right? It kind of like Alex Bowman at times has, kind of like William Byron has done in the past. But he did not do that in 2025. He didn't have the wins like he had early in the season. And speaking of wins, one of those boys was a road course where obviously SVG doesn't. I don't think he had great equipment that day, but he beat SVG and the entire field head to head there. And it's pretty impressive to do in this, post Chicago Street 2023 win from SVG era of NASCAR right now. So I think Christopher Bell is a great pick. He was one I was really waffling between him and Briscoe with.
Yeah, him in that Coda race. I mean, Kyle Busch ran so well, you may as well have thought SVG was in that 8 car with how well he was running late in the race.
Yeah.
I was able to get it done there. So, yeah, really solid top tier. I feel like all 3 of us have our guys to lead to the championship, but then it's the mid-tier and the low tier that'll really affect our teams here. And you guys are going to be shocked by my mid-tier pick. Completely out of the water, middle of nowhere. No idea that I picked this guy. I'm just kidding. It's Alex Bowman. I got to go with my guy here. And not getting a win in 2025 puts a sour taste in the mouth for what Alex Bowman's season, but it was not quite as bad as it looked. The playoff run obviously was as bad as it looked. They didn't give him any sort of chance. He didn't give himself a chance to advance out of the round of 16. But more consistency than he gets credit for. Didn't really have that same summer slump of never really having speed. Had more speed early in the summer. Some good runs there. Most laps led since 2020 for the 48 car this year. He was one off his career high at top 10s, which he said in 2024, which if you remember, before they decided to make the car a little too light, fail inspection, fail out of the playoffs, he was going to make the round of 8, just as all the other Hemric Motorsports cars were. 8 career wins, pretty solid compared to some of the mid-tier in the Cup Series. Obviously, you can have the whole argument of you should be better in Hemric equipment, but then I can have the argument of 4th car for Hemric is the best it's ever been. We don't need to rehash that because this is our race team. It's not Hemric Motorsports we're putting him in. But in terms of Bowman, right in that mid-tier of the Cup Series, you can say Alex Bowman's the definition of mid, so he's going to be my mid-tier pick, though.
I'm completely okay with it, right? And because that is who he is. That's who he's always been, right? From the pretty much get-go since he got in HMS equipment back in the day, like I can remember pretty vividly making a trade for Alex Bowman in one of our early configurations of our fantasy NASCAR league, Elliot. It was at Districts for Wrestling. We were sitting at a Wendy's afterwards. I was crying my tears into a chocolate frosty. And I made a trade. I think I split somebody for Alex Bowman and I think Jimmy Johnson and something like that. And I felt uncomfortable at the time, but it really helped me out. And I feel like Alex Bowman's always been that guy who you can kind of depend on. He's going to get you a lot of top 10s. Does he have race winning speed most weeks? Normally not. Maybe 2 to 3 times a year he can get it done. But yeah, I'm cool with this pick, and it keeps you on brand, buddy. Keeps you on brand.
Got to be on brand, especially in the off season when the bets aren't flowing as much. We need some more identifiers than our usual, our Tyler Ankrum top 5 that we can't pick in the off season here, Rob.
No, we can't. And I miss those. I want to go back to those again. But yeah, as far as Alex Bowman is concerned, yeah, this is one of those, I as a 48 fan from, the old days, it does pay me to see them not get wins. But, if you're talking about consistency, which you're talking about with Christopher Bell, this is just a different kind of consistency.
Yeah, mid-tier consistency. We'll take it. I will say, though, I went with the on-brand pick. You guys, again, same team on your end and maybe a little more upside, especially when it gets to squiggly season for your mid-tier picks up.
Yes, sir. Sign me up for the guy who went out and broke Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart's record for the most wins by a rookie in the NASCAR Cup Series, set all the way back in 99, 2002. This is Shane Van Gisbergen, baby. And in fantasy, it's all about collecting the stats, right? In real NASCAR, it's all about collecting the stats. And SVG, he does that. He wins trophies too. Second most wins in the series last year with 5, dude. And you're getting that from a mid-tier driver. Only Denny Hamlin had more. Also, like, you can also probably, not give him 5 this year because you're going to have the new road course out there in California and Rod's neck of the woods. Also, Connor Zilic now enters the fray. Still, though, I think you can pencil him in for 3 wins, right? If the line's 2.5, I'm taking it. I'm going to smash that this year. 312 laps led, 10th most in the series last year. Also going to get some stage wins at some of those road courses. And heck, he can even throw in a top 10 finish here. He did it at Bowman Gray on an oval. He did it at Kansas on an oval as well when I was on. Rajah Chastain needed to get him to a top 10 for me to cash, but did not. So, SVG's the pick here, boys.
Yeah, and SVG, the thing about SVG too, the thing that's keeping him mid-tier is that the ovals are the weakest part of it. When he catches on to the ovals, we ain't talking about him in the mid-tier anymore.
No, and we saw toward the end of last year, like you said, the fall Kansas race gets a top 10. Saw some more consistency there. We certainly didn't see it in the first round of the playoffs, though. Had like a 22-point gap or something like that to the cut line, and that was gone immediately. But SVG in the mid-tier and running his number 97 that he's traditionally run basically every year in every motorsport except for last year running the 88 car. That's got to add potentially another couple miles an hour too.
Indeed. Absolutely.
All right, Rod, you're staying with the same team, going with your teammates here. And it's an argument I could have made too. I could have gone with a Gibbs guy in the front tier. Nobody went with Denny Hamlin. No Larson either there. It just kind of shows the way we're thinking of it. And we were kind of thinking, where should we put Zilic? Mid-tier, low tier. Nobody picked him, but we did stick with another Trackhouse guy in the mid-tier.
Well, the only reason that we didn't go with, or at least I didn't go with Zilich, is that I got Cody in my ear every single week saying rookies don't win in NASCAR, and I get that, and so that's why I'm sort of staying away from Zilich at this point. But I tell you, the Ross Chastain of it, if you've watched NASCAR for even a minute over the last few years, you know that Ross Chastain offers so much value. It just disappeared last year to the point where you forgot about it, right? And so what I'm hoping for is with this inflection of Connor Zilich, with, you know, the possibility that Shane Van Gisbergen gets a little better on ovals, this whole team just sort of elevates itself again right into the conversation. And, you know, Daniel Suarez is going to be missed in the building, but I think Ross Chastain is still supposed to be that number one driver in the garage for Trackhouse. And he's not too shabby, right? I mean, he had 12 top 10s last season, which was a little dip from his 14 of a couple of seasons ago and 14 before that. But 2022, Ross Chastain is the one I want to see. 2 wins, 15 top 5s, 21 top 10s. Yeah. That's what I want to see, right? That's when we talk about ceiling and floor. I want to see that ceiling, and that launches him into the upper mid tier. Right now, you know, coming off of a 1-win season last year, that's the mid tier for me. So hopefully I'm getting top tier value, or top tier potential out of a mid tier value.
It feels like one of those situations, Elliot, where it's almost the inverse of your pick with Alex Bowman, where you're getting that steady floor. And Rod is shooting for, hey, I'm going to get 1 to 2 wins a year probably. And at his peak, Rods can go out there and click off top 5s like they're nobody's business. But he can also, as we've seen a lot of times, especially at some of these like strange tracks, like he has no upside ever at Homestead. Some of these other short tracks, he hasn't been as dominant as he was during that 2022 season, but he has the upside, and that's why you want a guy like that on your team.
Yeah, I think for Chastain, it's just a matter of almost rediscovering that fire and that passion of how he got there, you know, going back on a little what's given tour like we saw it sometimes in 22 and 23, where he would make some moves that, you know, guys would get upset at. But when you got speed and you got the opportunity to win races, I mean, we see it with guys like Hocevar now. On the rare occasion, Ty Gibbs runs up front. You know, he runs his teammates like garbage at places like New Hampshire. Anyway, that's neither here nor there on Ty Gibbs. But for Chastain, it's just a matter of the Trackhouse equipment kind of keeping up with the good driving skills that Chastain has. Higher ceiling, lower floor, but a guy very solid pick in the mid tier.
Also, I think we buried the lead here. Is that a Calgary Flames hoodie you're wearing, Rod? What are we working with over there?
No. So the Stockton Heat were the affiliates of the Calgary Flames for a little while until they moved up to Calgary themselves. And this is an old remnant of my Stockton Heat hockey team down here, the minor league team.
Nice. Good poll.
I love to see it. I just assumed it was something to do with the CFL or something like that, you know, Saskatoon or something like that. Stockton Heat, shout out to some minor league hockey. We love to see it.
You know, I've got a ton of it in my closet. I got all kinds of crazy leagues and teams, and even a Japanese baseball jersey too. So I love it all.
Right. We know what you're wearing on the next show, Rod. You gotta show us that one.
I'll bring it.
Yeah, we don't do baseball here at In Between Media, but maybe working in at some point if enough people like it. Anyway, so we got the meet.
Don't lie to the people.
Maybe someday, if anybody out there wants to create baseball content and you need a home for it, for baseball betting, fantasy baseball, our doors is at least it's unlocked. We'll say that
it's unlocked. It's closed. But it's unlocked.
Not nightly. That's all.
Yeah. Anyway, so we got our top tier set. We got our guys who are going to go and win us the title. We got our mid tier, the guys who are going to get us a couple wins a year. They'll pick their spots. They'll help elevate the game a little bit. Now we're going to go in the low tier, which, you know, these are guys that have been lower tier the last couple of years. They're a little down on their luck. Maybe they're in equipment they shouldn't be in. Maybe they just haven't been as consistent as they should be. But again, we got the 3 best cars in the series that we're going to put them in. We're very excited for all these guys' potential. And for me, that guy is Noah Gragson. The potential is there for this kid. You don't just win 13 Xfinity races and 8 of them in a season without any talent. Obviously, that's in what we've clearly seen has been the best cars in what is now the O'Reilly Series with Rearview Motorsports. But in the Cup side, just getting the kid in good equipment, making sure he puts full races together, kind of keeps his head on his shoulders. You're not really seeing him go as crazy as your Hocevar or your Chastains, but he's not running up front nearly as much. Maybe he would if he could. But in any case, the kid's got talent. He's got the potential. And I'm putting him in a good enough car as my lower tier driver. Hopefully they're running a little better than Legacy 3 years ago, or Stuart Haas the year before it dies, or Front Row, which is coming out in the lawsuit that they're about as frugal as it comes in terms of their spending and just operating.
Buy their own ice. They're buying their own ice.
They are buying their own ice. Yeah, and hey, we buy our own ice here too at In Between Media, so don't get us down there. But Noah Gragson rounding out my Cup team.
Yeah, you must be like allergic to wins on your team, Elliot. I'm going to be honest with you, because between Alex Bowman and Noah Gragson, like, you're going to hope Blaney comes through for like 7 wins. I'll tell you that much right now.
It happens, but I mean, it's been a hot minute since either of your low tier guys have won a race either. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So shots fired here. I'm going with a man who has won races in the past, who's getting close to winning some races at least. Give me
him at a track other than Darlington, and maybe he's not going to win.
All right, that's fair. But I got that Jones boy here, Erik Jones. Fire him up here. And to me, he's a lower tier driver that can get you still somewhere between 3 to 5 top 5s a year. He's good at Pocono. He's good at Darlington. This guy can run at Texas a little bit. Super speedways. He's got that in the bag as well. One of the best next-gen super speedway racers out there currently. So I think Erik Jones, a guy who should have won the Doles last year, if people were hitting buttons at the right time and stuff. And for me, it has been over 3 full seasons since Erik Jones won. Yes. But it has also been a long time period that Legacy's been building that notebook slowly, improving all the way around. He had a great year last year compared to what he was doing in 2024. I think another step forward here comes in 2026. And I got a possible win on the board here with Erik Jones. I would take the over if we're getting good odds, honestly, on a 0.5 bet, half a win for Erik Jones. So, Elliot, another dub in the bag for me, potentially with Erik Jones to add to my 3 from Shane Van Gisbergen and maybe 4 from Chase Briscoe. Let's go, babe. We're stacking dubs on this team.
Every year is different, though. I'm betting on Bowman to have another 4-win year like he did in 21, and I'm betting on Blaney to not just win the 4 that he did this past year, but to win the 4 that he would have won if he hadn't blown an engine when he was the fastest car on the track. Or you talk about
potential.
You talk about hitting the caution button. If Kyle Larson didn't wreck 350 laps down at Darlington, Blaney would have got another win there too. And don't talk to me about hitting the caution button at bad times. I got a Daytona 2024 and Talladega 2015 race to tell you about hitting that you know what in caution button too soon. All right, before I get off on a tangent nobody cares about, let's hear your low tier pick, Rob.
Yeah, so let's go with Ross Chastain's former teammate Daniel Suarez, now driving that number 7 for Spire Motorsports. Look at his teammates, right? I mean, I know John Ray's in the comments saying that Hocevar is going to win a race this season. No, let me give the race win to Daniel Suarez, because I most certainly believe that Daniel Suarez in new scenery could get things done. And like I said, he's got good teammates, right? He's got Michael McDowell, who we know that on super speedways, we pretty much put all of our faith in each and every season to some of our chagrin. But, and then he's got the Fiery Kid as the teammate as well. So maybe just this change of scenery is all Daniel Suarez needs to sort of revive what has not been a bad career. I mean, let's put it bluntly. He's won some races. He's finished top 10s. He's had top 5s. He's been a competitive race car driver pretty much the entire time he's been in the sport. I don't know what happened this year. I don't really know what the fall off was, and I'm not quite sure you can really pinpoint it to any one specific thing, but we just really didn't see the Daniel Suarez that we got to know a few seasons ago, right? Where he was just mi amigo and winning and having fun. And it just didn't feel like it was having fun this year. And maybe he knew he was on his way out. So maybe, again, change of scenery, a couple of new teammates that he can pal around with and get to know a little bit better, may do him well. And Seth, like you were saying, there's potential wins in Daniel Suarez, right? There's opportunities for him to win in Atlanta.
I'll give you that.
He can do it again, right? So a road course that he can accidentally jump up and win and maybe beat SVG one day. Who knows? I just know that with Daniel Suarez, I'm willing to bank on a better outcome in his new team.
This guy shows up, right? Like, he shows up occasionally, Elliot. It feels like, I mean, whether it's down in Mexico at his home track in the Xfinity Series, running a backup car, or whether it's going out in Atlanta and showing up like Daniel Suarez. He almost won Texas last year too, honestly.
Yeah, Texas and Vegas was running pretty well too. For Suarez, I think part of it is just Trackhouse kind of steadily going a little further downhill, and third Trackhouse car syndrome, which, He started when Trackhouse was a one-car team.
Sure.
That 99 was undoubtedly the third priority for Trackhouse this year behind SVG and Chastain. So I do like him going to Spire, especially if Chris Gabehart walks through the doors there. And I will say this. You say I'm allergic to wins. If we're talking 2026, the situations that they're in, you give me the over-under half a win, I'm probably going to bet it on either Suarez, Hocevar, or Jones before I would bet it on Gragson. But it's not the way I looked at this draft, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Where does Michael McDowell fit in? Is he a low tier or still mid tier? Because I was considering him for my team, but I wasn't really sure where to slot him in at.
Yeah, good question. We didn't define things quite as much as we maybe had to, and thankfully we got some good picks in without having to really set up some parameters. I was worried I was going to maybe have to slot guys into a point system and do all this sort of work. I think he's in between the mid and the low tier. I think maybe his win total and the cars he's driven for are low tier because he's never been in a car that has been considered to be a really good car, which you think about it with Spire. I mean, we were kind of scratching our heads a little bit when he was leaving front row, which we thought was more on the up and up at the time. Not that it's not, but you know what I mean? Now Spire is kind of the hot commodity. McDowell got his seat there, and he's definitely, this is probably the best year that we're looking at him in terms of this guy may be able to go out there and win a race. It could be in the current iteration of Spire, which I would not have expected, a year and a half or 2.5 years ago when he announced that he was going to move there.
That's our development driver for all of our teams, Michael McDowell. McNasty's the sim guy.
McNasty's, we're all under the same. If we want to put in F1 terms, we're all under the same like engine manufacturer or whatever. McNasty's our test driver.
There you go.
He's the Yuki Tsunoda of the NASCAR circuit.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Yuki losing his seat, of course, to an F1 rookie next year. Hey, there were 5 F1 rookies this past year. Only one Unblad next year. We'll talk some F1 here in a little bit after we wrap up our draft or pass fantasy draft. That closes the book on our Cup Series side. But we each will pick an O'Reilly and a Truck Series driver as well. And you know what? You talk about me being allergic to wins. I'm kind of on the same boat here with my O'Reilly. But Carson Kvapil has not won his first O'Reilly Series race yet. But again, a young kid with a lot of potential. I'm affording him the luxury of time. I'm giving him a full year in my seat to get there because his first Xfinity year was nothing to complain about. The only thing missing was him getting to victory lane. Made the championship 4, which of course is in a JRM card makes it a little easier, but this kid does have some talent. Championship 4 run, 7 top 5s, 14 top 10s, and that's the build off of really good runs in limited starts 2 years ago, including a second place when we were there at Dover. The kids it started off as the kids got his tracks, short tracks, your Dovers, things like that. This year, I mean, he was running toe-to-toe with Zilich at Coda. He was doing well, nearly won Fall Talladega to lock himself in the championship 4 at the time. The kid's starting to learn a little bit. He's becoming a little more well-rounded, and I'm giving him time. I didn't put his age here, but he's got to be like 19 years old. He's very young, and it does take a while for these guys to develop. I mean, back in the day, you would have had guys maybe 25, 26, 27 just getting Cup opportunities. Now you have these young kids jumping in. It takes time to develop a little bit. You got to kind of get your feet under you, get your feet wet, and learn how to drive a race car. And Kvapil with a full year in Xfinity, another full year with JRM coming up after this good run. I've got a lot of faith in him.
Ton of upside, right? Like I at least can defend the upside case here with Carson Kvapil for you, because the only disappointing thing about Carson Kvapil this past year is from a betting standpoint, it kind of went cold and hard to, really picture it, figuring out where to bet him. He got hot at the end of the season with top 10s that you could kind of start cashing your way into a championship 4 ticket. But that you said it, Elliot, super hot at the beginning of the year, almost went out and won Coda, and then didn't show up at Dover where I expected him to be fast. Richmond, not as fast as he was the year before. Martinsville, I thought he would be a competitor there. Some of those shorter tracks, like you said, is bread and butter. He didn't show up at, and I don't know exactly what the cause of that was, but he is someone who I think could go out and get a win this next season.
And I thought they were going to be 1-2, Kvapil and Zilich, right? I thought they were going to be punching it out for who was going to be better in JRM, other than, of course, Justin Allgaier. But we didn't really see that rivalry develop. And now Zilich is gone. So now it's Kvapil who can maybe take some of what a little bit, can't really take all of it because he left a whole lot of wins on the table. But maybe, Kvapil does start picking up on this. And like you said, with another full season or with a full season under the belt now, we're in for some good stuff.
Yeah, and you will have to see Zilich a little bit. I think he'll run about half the races for JRM. And with the JRM sponsor announcements that are coming out, they're starting to unveil some paint schemes and things like that. I'm seeing Chastain's name pop up quite a bit in that number 9. So they talked about maybe loosening the rules on how many Xfinity or how many O'Reilly and truck races guys can run. It seems like Ross is going to be in that 9 quite a bit, which is going to definitely be important on the betting cards there. Very well could be the favorite in some of these races that he runs, depending on where he runs in this 9 car.
I'm here for it, man. You know me, a little Ross Chastain on the opening early series betting cards for the weekend's always a good thing.
And it really will be chaotic with your Chastain's running more on the truck side. Whoever's going to be in this Kaulig All-Star truck, it's going to affect the market every single week in a way that either if you're wanting to take the juice on Chastain, Ross at a Darlington or something like that, going to be a heavy favorite.
Gives you leverage.
Yeah, that's what I was going to lead into. Is it does give you some leverage on some of these other guys that are going back for the full-time runs in these series. That they can win some races and they can win some championships like your pick here, Seth.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of sucker bets out there for sometimes the Cup guys coming down, and you can take advantage of that. And someone that I think is going to take advantage of that is a guy who has proven himself in this series, in Jesse Love. Give me the kid on my team who went out. He won the series against all odds in just his second year, second most top 10s in the series. If there was that rivalry between Connor Zilisch and someone, it was Jesse Love, right? This guy and him go toe-to-toe despite being best friends. Fifth most top 10s in this series as well with 9. You would like to see a little more laps led, right? Only 247, fourth among full-time drivers. But I think the confidence of getting that championship victory, also, you get a fired-up RC coming in next year, wanting to burn it down after being called a redneck and other insulting things. And so I think you're going to get that. Zilisch not being full-time helps as well. So I really think that Jesse Love could take the mantle when we're talking about statistical performance in next year's series, and also season-long perspective from a championship future standpoint as well. So I'm all back in on Jesse Love. Cashed him 11-1 a year ago. So excited to see what he can do here in 2026 for my squad, the best squad.
Rod, I know you love some Love for sure. And Love definitely a guy, especially if the Richard Childress Racing equipment stays pretty solid. And if he can get lucky on the super speedways, because he and Hill are kind of neck and neck, I could see 6 wins for Love in the O'Reilly Series next year as potentially.
I mean, look, Zilisch is leaving, like I said, a lot on the table for Love to pick up. And now that he's got this championship, now that he's got the confidence of being a NASCAR O'Reilly Series champion, well, we'll say Xfinity Series champion because that's what he was. But yeah, I mean, listen, I do love Love, and I've always loved Love as far as just the sheer talent and the ability for him to go out. And because, again, 2 seasons ago, Jesse Love was the Connor Zilisch without the 10 wins, right? It was everybody was talking about Love, this hot rookie, this guy coming in and doing great things in the series. Well, then Zilisch came in and sort of stole his thunder because he was winning all the races, but people forgot Jesse Love was still a competent race car driver, and he proved that by winning the championship. So yeah, I'm all in on him again.
All right, Rod. So Seth and I went with some guys. They've got some years under their belt on the O'Reilly side, but you're going with one of the rookies to the series this year as your pick.
I am, and again, we didn't really specify whether this was a high mid tier, so I'm a building block. Let's just call this a dynasty play, and that's Rajah Caruth. Obviously, we talked about him splitting time between Jordan Anderson in that 32 and the 88. I feel like with the Hendrick cars, the sponsorship just doesn't follow somebody who you don't expect to see competing on a week-to-week basis, right? Because Hendrick doesn't throw his name on anybody that is going to go out there and embarrass him, and that's just the way it is. And Rajah Caruth in the Truck Series last season was a guy that was unheralded in a lot of ways, and yet still found himself in the championship mix, right? The playoff mix, and had himself a decent enough season to put himself in the mix. And I feel like that is what I'm looking for to build on with Rajah Caruth in this series. And you don't get a shot in the 88, right? The vacated 88 that won all those races without being a talented driver. And so I feel like for whatever reason, there's just not a lot of pomp and circumstance when it comes to Rajah Caruth, and I'm fine with that because that means week after week people are going to underestimate the ability of him. And probably by the middle of next season, there won't be a whole lot of underestimating because I think Rajah Caruth is going to show that he does belong in the 88, the 32, the 1, the 6, whatever car you put him in, he's going to go out there and compete on a week-to-week basis. The wins may not come in cascades, but I think they will come, and it'll be respectable enough to to not only have on your fantasy roster, but listen, just to cheer for in general, because I had fun cheering for him in the Truck Series last year.
Yeah, Rajah throwing up the W there in the graphic. He'll hope for some W's. And he was a guy who I gave him my flowers at the end of last year. I thought he was definitely a little bit of an overrated driver, but I think I was overestimating the Spire equipment that we saw was not quite as good as we thought, to the point where they had to shut down trucks and everything that happened there. I do like Rajah in the 88. I do think he's going to win some races, but even though we saw that car win 10 races last year, I still might have to bring the over-under for Rajah back to a 1.5, and I'm curious what side you would take on that one, Seth.
I would go under. I almost would flirt with an under on a 0.5, honestly. Like, I like Rajah. I think he's a good driver. I just think with the Xfinity Series right now, it's a bit cagey, right? Like, yes, you get Zilich out of there, but you have guys we've talked about like Love, like Kvapil, Justin Allgaier are still going to be around. I'm not sure what the entire Joe Gibbs Racing stable is going to look like, but they're going to bring some bad fast cars every single week. And Rajah, just like, maybe it's just like not having really any history of success in the Xfinity Series, no top 10s, no top 5s, never even led a lap in the series, right? And part of that obviously is the equipment he's been running in this series. Also was a much more inexperienced driver at that time as well. But yeah, so just some question marks for me. And like, wasn't a guy who necessarily went out and dominated the Truck Series by any means, right? Like, if this was Corey Heim getting in this car, I think I'm a little more excited. But I like the play from a long-term standpoint, but as far as 2026, I'm definitely on that under here of 1.5, Elliot. I would bet that heavily.
I can't argue with you, because I took his under 1.5 as one of my more confident bets last offseason. And it hit, but I was sweating it until the very end of the year when he was potentially on a championship 4 run.
Sure.
It was looking pretty good. And he's in far better equipment this year. But you're right, still one of those guys that is going to be, he's going to be interesting to watch, but he's going to be exciting to watch too, making him a pretty solid pick here. Moving up into, you're moving up into the best seat. You're going to have some high expectations on you. So maybe I've almost flipped the book on Caruth. Maybe I am overestimating his success. But either way, he'll be fun to watch, just as our O'Reilly teams will be fun to watch, and our truck picks too. You guys were wondering where all the wins coming from. I think Layne Riggs is going to probably get me some wins down in the Truck Series. He's my pick for my truck. Baddest dude in the series, short of Corey Heim. If you don't have Heim going out there winning about a dozen races, you probably have Layne Riggs get a couple more. Couple of times, especially on the short tracks where Riggs outdueled Heim, straight up like at IRP. He's getting more well-rounded, more consistent each and every year. And he's a guy, I think the trucks and the Truck Series really suit him well. It works well with his driving style. The tracks that are on the schedule work pretty well. He's even a guy who's flirted with road course success. And this year in 2026, Truck Series moving from what? They ran one before, they ran twice or 3 times. They're running like 5 road courses next year, if I remember correctly. So even on, I'm framing him as a short track guy, but he's a guy even on road courses I'm excited about too. Really well-rounded driver. A guy who, if the opportunities don't happen to have him move up, I think he could be a guy who could very well sit in the Truck Series and become one of the next dominant drivers, one of the next lifers, so to speak. We're just seeing Matt Crafton move his way out of the year. I think Layne will want to win more than Matt Crafton won, especially in his later years. But Layne Riggs is a truck guy, especially with Corey Heim out of the series and definitely full-time out of the series. I feel like Riggs in the 34 truck going to be really, really exciting to watch next year. Expecting plenty more, fingers up and plenty more celebratory tequila. His drink of choice, right, for Pocono there, Seth?
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, this is your best pick. This is your best pick of the entire draft. I think long-term, what is the upside of Layne Riggs? Can he go on and be a Cup regular and start clicking off some wins at the top level? I'm not sure, but can he be a dang fast and arguably the best Truck Series driver with whatever's going on with Corey Heim right now? I think so. I think that's definitely in the realm of possibility. So I'm here for Layne Riggs. Haven't tried the Clue yet, the new sponsor of his late towards the end of the year there. Excited all around. And as I said, Ellie, always up for nicotine sponsorships here on the Backroad. So maybe Clue can get invested with us soon.
Yeah, I don't mess with the nicotine patches. I don't know if is there that big a difference between this brand, that brand, the other brand? Because there's so many colors out there. They all run together, I feel like, to me.
Well, let me tell you what, man. We were up at Pocono, and I know you were over there at the zone tent, right? And you grabbed a little 6-banger pack, and you were like, this isn't really for me, and you handed it off to me. One summer night, I was up, I think, doing the model pretty late, and I was like, I need a little jolt. Let me tell you what, buddy, I felt like I went, from base level up to the moon real quick on one of those.
You were in the zone.
Too much in the zone. I'll take a little 2%, 6 gets a little up there for me. So yes, it does make a difference. So Clue, hopefully they have a little 2% action, because that's where I'm at.
Well, there you go. Go ahead and file it in there. Rod, any comments on Riggs before we move on in the draft?
Riggs revenge tour. I mean, really, that's all there is to it, right? He's on a mission this year to prove that that was the wrong outcome for last year.
Speaking of guys on a mission, a prospect that saw one of his teammates go out there, have the most dominant truck season in perhaps the history of the series, and he's wanting to do the same, Seth.
Gio Ruggiero, baby. Give me him. Love me some Gio, man. Like, I got a feeling that he's the next breakout star of the truck series. I knew if Elliot was going to go out there and snake Layne Riggs with his first pick, I had to go grab me some Gio, man. As a rookie, this guy finished 11th in points, top 6 in top 5 finishes as well. So he has that race winning speed upside, 10th in top 10 finishes, 6th in average starting among full-time drivers, 7th in average finish among full-time drivers as well. And yeah, he has that race winning speed. We saw it at Dega. We are on him 20-1, one of the best hits of the season. And also can get it done on the road courses too. Like, if Corey Heim ain't out there for some road courses, it's going to probably be a Gio party in my mind. I think Gio, unless we see one of these ringers, like if Zilich wants to come down, or whether it's someone else who kind of, is in that celeb truck, I think Gio's the hometown favorite here that's going to be in the truck series week in and week out, especially when we go to somewhere like Lime Rock. So I think he can win there. He's been really good at some of these short tracks. I think he can get it done at the Ville, maybe potentially Bristol at some point as well. And doesn't hurt that he's in, the best equipment in the entire series. He learned from one of the greatest of all time, the GOAT Corey Heim last year. So I'm all in on Gio Ruggiero, baby. And thank you very much, Elliot, because I built my team the right way. I have youth. I have upside down in the trucks, down the Xfinity, still going to be clicking off wins. And then I got those old KG vets just continuing to build up some money and sponsorship dollars for Chaboy right now.
Yeah, you talk about old KG vets. That's kind of where Rod's pick goes here in the trucks here. Ruggiero definitely got to be excited about, but so is your guy, even though we talk about guys who are allergic to wins. I think we got one of them we're going to talk about here.
I'm an old man and I like old things. So give me Daniel Hemric as my truck driver. Look, here's the thing, right? He did come down and he was competitive in the truck series. You just can't deny the fact that Daniel Hemric was in the conversation. Did he have as many wins as we would have liked to him? No, he only got the one last year. He did have 10 top 5 finishes, though, which is 40% of the time that he took the track. And then 60% of his races ended in a top 10 finish. 15 of them to be exact. So 11.9 overall in average finish. And, Martinsville is the one that he won, but we were talking about him in so many different places all season long as, well, this could be a Daniel Hemric. This could be a Daniel Hemric. And, for a guy who had to take a back seat and had to go all the way back down to the truck series, he's handled it gracefully and he's still there. And that 19 truck is not a slow truck, right? The
Sure.
Matt Valley trucks are they're still on par with all the other great trucks out there. So for me, this is more just letting Daniel Hemric kind of marinate on what happened last season and come back this year with no, Corey Heim possible. He's got an opportunity here to take advantage of a weakened truck series field.
Hemric is one of those guys that you want to talk about a model of consistency. Thinking back on all the rides he's jumped into, RCR, to a colleague, to a Joe Gibbs.
Yep.
MHR, back to colleague. He's a guy that's going to give you some solid performances and run, he's going to run his race. He's going to do you pretty well. He's going to have some chances to win. It doesn't really matter the quality of the vehicle. He's a quality enough driver to get it in good positions.
Well, he's in a good truck here too. And I think that helps him, but he is certainly the guy who's going to top 10 you to death. I think last year, you and I both, Elliot, we took a little nibble on his championship outright, 11-1, 15-1, somewhere in that neighborhood. And he got the win early. Unlike I was expecting him just to point his way into the playoffs and then maybe we'd get a cash out. The cash out never came regardless, but we also still had him down on that top 10 season standings bet parlayed with Crane Enfinger, and that cash for us multiple units. So I think that's what you're getting with Hemric. And now that the door opens a little bit now without maybe Corey Heim lurking around the corner, I think maybe Hemric could get another win or two, especially because we saw Christian Eckes, a guy who I would say is on a similar tier of talent as Daniel Hemric, go out and get multiple wins in this truck.
I feel like that team is only going to improve too. I mean, we saw Ankrum make a run to the championship 4. Christian Eckes is back in the fold there. No disrespect to Jack Wood, but I think Eckes probably a little more upside in that 91 truck. Making MHR a good team to watch in the trucks next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And our teams are going to be fun to watch too. We'll have to remember what we picked and take a look back at how everybody did this past year. And, maybe I looked at it as I'm going to load them up in a NASCAR 25 behind me and put them on my own team. You guys were kind of like, how are we going to look at them, where they are in 2026? And that's part of the fun of it, though. Different. If we all did the same strategy and all said regurgitated the same stats, the show wouldn't be any fun. And I like to think the show's fun. And it's especially fun when we can talk about bets. And thankfully, there's still one more big race in the year 2025 that we can talk about bets on, and there's a lot of them in the beautiful market of Formula One. Let's dip into the last race of the year in the Parking Garage props. So for the first time since 2021, I believe, we are going to see the Formula One championship come down to the final race at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Lando Norris is your points leader at 408 points. Max Verstappen has come all the way back to be just 12 points back. McLaren teammate Oscar Piastri is minus 16. This has been an extraordinarily exciting points battle to watch. Piastri was the favorite. Looked like Verstappen was down. Norris was kind of around. McLaren, the dominant team, locked up the constructors title weeks and weeks and weeks ago. But the driver title, they've let Verstappen back in. Double DQ at Las Vegas did not help McLaren. It's been extremely exciting to watch. I guess let's start off before we get into the bets. Who you got taking home the World Drivers' Championship?
Rod?
It's got to be Max Verstappen now because they left the door open, right? You just don't leave the door open for a guy who just continues to win championships, right? I mean, it's going to be difficult, right? He's got to beat Lando by a few spots here, or maybe McLaren's rear is too thick and they get disqualified and that's how he wins. But look, I'm going to go with Max Verstappen only because I want something to cheer for. And I know that if Lando gets the pole and leads all the laps and he wins, then I'm not cheering very hard. But yeah, you left the door open and you don't leave the door open for a perennial champion.
Insert Undertaker gif, I feel like, for Max Verstappen this season. Nobody, I don't think, really expected this, right? Anyone who had a championship future on Max Verstappen and maybe took that partway through the season after the dominant run McLaren went on, congratulations. That was a great play. I think we all should have probably been on that as well. I think it's going to be tough, though, Elliot. I think he's going to have his work cut out for him just because you have not only one, but two dominant McLaren cars really against Max Verstappen here.
With Max, 4-time world champion, you leave the door open for him, and it's going to be difficult to stop him. Lando's got the edge, but one thing we're maybe not thinking of, that maybe this is too much NASCAR brain, not enough F1 brain. What if we throw in the chaos factor here of Verstappen is right by Norris there. He's going for the position that he needs to get it done. Maybe a little bit of contact, maybe takes both of them out, leaves the door open for Oscar Piastri to get up there and make up those points. I feel like that would be some major controversy, but I'm not completely ruling it out because I feel like we see Max do some crazy things out on the racetrack. Good or bad, yes.
Yeah, that's
all right. So let's get to the bets here. We've got quite a variety here, but I'm going to start with a qualifying bet that I've got. Charles Leclerc to start in the top 3, plus 550 over on Caesars. Ferrari, it has not been the year they wanted. Lewis Hamilton has run like crap. Leclerc has run a little better at times, but still no race wins for Ferrari this year. Not the year that they wanted as a constructor as a whole. Abu Dhabi is a good track for him, though. Each of the last 3 seasons, a Ferrari has not only qualified, but has finished top 3, including a heck of a run by Leclerc last year, going from toward the back of the field to get a podium there. I'm not worried about what he does in the race. I'm thinking he starts top 3. And if you look at this year as well, 9 top 3 starts total, including 3 of the last 5 races. I don't think it's going to be a win. I still think Ferrari is going to look at this year as a disappointment, but I do think Leclerc will have some speed at Abu Dhabi once again and be mixing it up in this championship battle as someone that they're going to have to deal with starting up at the front of the field.
I was looking at this cat, right, for a top 6. That was where I kind of wanted to play him. He's around minus 175 for that. So I couldn't get myself to drink that juice. But when you look at traditionally who's been good at this track, there's arguably not a lot of drivers better than him.
Yeah, and really what's frustrating is when you look back a couple seasons ago, there was the big five, right? There was Mercedes, there was Ferrari, there was Red Bull, obviously, and Aston Martin crept their way in there, and McLaren was part of that. You're not seeing that with Ferrari this year. There's not, you can't make a case for them to be one of those top 5 teams because the second driver's just sort of washed out, right? Lewis Hamilton has not been a factor pretty much all season long, and that leaves Leclerc by himself. And what can you do as one Ferrari driver in a sea of all these, McLaren's doing well now and Racing Bulls are catching up to him. I know, Elliot, you're going to talk about them in a second, but the top 6 gets crowded and yeah, Leclerc can start up there. I don't know if he's going to finish up there.
Yeah, thankfully I'm not worried about that for the bet. And for Ferrari, it's going to be an interesting offseason. Of course, new car, new rules coming in next year across the board for F1. But when you're running kind of closer and more comparable to Williams than you are McLaren, that's got to send off alarm bells. Even though red's normally good for Ferrari, the red alarm bells are not good. But like I said, I'm worried about where he starts, not where he finishes. We do have a lot of placement props to go through. But Rod, I wanted to throw in your group bet here first on an exciting young driver that we've talked about quite a bit on this show throughout the year.
Kimi Antonelli, man. I mean, he's just a kid, right? He went back to school after winning a sprint race. That's how young this kid actually is. And so much fun to cheer for, right? And Kimi Antonelli has taken this Mercedes equipment. I feel like Lewis Hamilton is just kind of looking at this going, what could have been? Because he's watching his Mercedes equipment just get driven the hell out of with Kimi, right? He's been on the podium a couple of times. He's always in the conversation for a top 6. So his group bet on Caesars, he's going up against guys like Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, and Carlos Sainz. And Carlos Sainz and the Williams got us last time, right? I took Antonelli and Sainz in a bet, and Sainz got the best of Antonelli, but I don't think that's going to happen this time. Lewis Hamilton, we just talked about, not really been a factor. He's been finishing middling in the 15s or so for the last few weeks. And then Charles Leclerc, we just talked about him. He'll start well, but he's not finishing better than Kimi. Kimi's had a solid season so far, a great rookie season. One of those rookies, Elliot, that you were talking about earlier in the year, that just he's come in and done such great things in the sport, and he's elevating this Mercedes equipment. I feel like he's going to beat Lewis again, Shaw again, and of course Carlos Sainz again, and get this group done.
I did see this group, and Sainz I think was at plus 750 to win this group, and I really thought about it because it's been a good couple of weeks for Sainz with Williams. Good finish at Vegas, I believe, and then the podium this past weekend. But yeah, it was the Ferrari success even that was throwing me off of that more than even Kimi as the clear favorite of the group, and for good reason. It's been a really good year for him with Mercedes.
Yes.
Seth, you've got a lot of points finishes bets. I will sneak in mine real quick before then because mine are above the top 10. So we'll go in numerical order here. Nice and fancy. I got to start on the podium with Oscar Piastri. Minus 275. This is my juicy bet of the week. Like I said, title fight really looked to be his midseason. He was the dominant McLaren driver, won a whole bunch early in the year. Obviously a young driver, less experienced than Lando Norris. You're going to see that sometimes where, especially when it's your teammate that's your biggest title rival, sometimes things don't always go your way. But he's still in it. He still is in a very good position. I think he'll be really competitive, as McLaren's been every week this year. I think he'll give the championship fight and the race win a run for its money. I don't think it happens for him, but I do think he ends the year on the podium and what'll be a really bittersweet podium finish for him. Very well could be all 3 of the championship contenders taking the podium this weekend. For Oscar, though, podium finish, I think he's going to be up there enough to make that top 3.
I just think I would almost rather parlay the double finish for McLaren, right? I think I'd rather just take a little bit of this juice off. But a win's a win, right? So sometimes you just got to click them off. So I don't hate to play in that standpoint, Ellie. I just wonder what even the odds were maybe for McLaren double podium as well.
Could be a good look. And I'm more confident, though, in Oscar making the podium than Lando. One of Lando Norris is one of his kind of hallmarks, at least. And it hasn't happened as much this year. But it did in Vegas, in Vegas and last week too in Qatar. Lando Norris losing spots on the first lap is something that was a really easy bet to cash that I forgot to bet last week and it would really help me.
Interesting.
I do think Oscar does have a kind of a higher floor than Lando, especially he's the guy in the lead. He's the guy with the most pressure on him. And we saw last week it didn't quite work out for him, obviously with DQs and their dominant max performance really going against that. But in any case, the McLaren is going to be ones to watch. And Racing Bulls, Rod, like you said, I'm really high on Hadjar as I have been these last couple of weeks. betting his top 6 at plus 450 on Caesars. Really impressive rookie season in F1. It was made better with a question mark because of how it's run. He's going to the second Red Bull seat, replacing Yuki Tsunoda next year. And we think that makes it better. New car, hopefully, will be a little better, but the second Red Bull seat has been the place to die. In any case, last 3 races, P8, P6, and had a top 6 run going last week, had a tire cut down within the last 5 laps. I think it was 3 to go or 2 to go. Front wing just breaks, cuts a tire, has that really good run knocked out. A kid who's been really strong, especially late in the year. At a plus 450, give me the Racing Bulls to end the year pretty well, too, with a top 6 for Hedger.
100%. Like, it's been fun watching him elevate this Racing Bulls equipment, right? Because Liam Lawson has actually stepped up too in a way that he's like, hey, listen, I'm still here. And it's been fun watching both of these guys sort of say, well, you know what? I want the second Red Bull seat. Liam Lawson saying I want it again, but Hadjar getting the run, which is well deserved.
Yeah, good runs there. You guys were probably a little safer with your bets here. Just going for the points. Seth, you got a couple points bets. Let's start with your lower number here for our first official bet placed from the Score Bet on the show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So when you guys are sweating out who's going to win this championship, I'm going to be only caring about like places 7th through 15th in these bets. And yeah, first one comes over from our friends at the Score Bet, plus 175. Alexander Albon, top 10 fourth. I'm going half a unit down on this one, boys. 8th in the points, average finish of 10.8 this season, the 8th best. He was checking off the top 10s this summer, man. He was on quite the run. We got to Baku City. He has not finished top 10 since then, but he also hasn't finished worse than P16 in that span. But other than that one P16, it's like 11s, it's a couple 13s and 12s. So he's right there. I think he's due for a little bit of positive regression, specifically at a place where he has a 9.6 average finish. And yeah, I'll also take a little bit longer of a shot, but I actually think might even have just as likely of a chance to come through. Give me Esteban Ocon on the top 10, plus 375 over at Caesars. Also down half a unit on this. Top 10 at 8 of 23 races this season. Also, 2 of the last four races he's got there for Haas as well. So average finish of 10.7 at Abu Dhabi. In the points in 4 out of 7 races in his career here, finishing no worse than P12 since COVID 2020 year. So, yeah, I'm in here on a little Esteban Ocon. These are 2 guys I bet pretty much all season long. They were good to me. And for whatever reason, I tend to hit actually like longer F1 bets than heavily juiced ones. So, hey, here we go, boys.
Yeah, Rod, the midfield has been really competitive, maybe more so than at least the last couple of years that I've really been paying attention, because you've had really good runs from both Williams drivers, both Haas drivers as well as the Racing Bulls secondary team under the Red Bull umbrella. But you are seeing guys rip out good finishes, including another points bet that you've got here from good old VCarb.
And that's what's made this season the most fun, right? Is watching these guys sneak up into the points that aren't necessarily there when you have a lagging second Ferrari, when you have guys that aren't performing the way they are. And that's why Liam Lawson, who had his shot in the Red Bull equipment and lost it, and said, well, you know what? Fine. I'm just going to go run the heck out of this Racing Bulls equipment and see what I can do for the rest of the year. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, look, his average finish this season is 13th overall, right? But he did finish in the points last week in Qatar. He started in 6th. He had such a great run. Las Vegas really screwed a lot of people up in their betting card with all of the weather and all of everything that happened. He still finished 14th, which is not in the points. I get it, but he was running in the points for most of that race. He finished 7th in Brazil just recently. He was 5th at Baku. He was 8th at the Hungaroring, 8th at Spa, 6th at Spielberg. So since he's joined this Racing Bulls team, he's been a solid points competitor week in and week out, and plus 275 for him to get there. That's pretty good price for a guy who lives around the points.
Yeah, and with how good this team has been late on in the year, it's a good bet. And he's got to be feeling good too. So much stress around, I got to be in the big Red Bull seat. I just got demoted from here. He knows he'll be back in the seat next year, paired with a rookie teammate in Arvid Lindblad, a guy who, with Lawson, kind of almost in the same realm as your Albons and your Ocons in this really competitive midfield that we've had. And I can't really argue against any of your guys' points finish bets. They all look very intriguing to me in the plus money side.
Let's go. And I think we got one more from the specials market. Is that where we're heading, Rod?
We sure do.
I tell you what, this is because a lot of people hate it when safety cars come out or virtual safety cars come out because it ruins a lot of things. No, you're going to be cheering for a virtual safety car in this one. Minus 115 for a virtual safety car to appear. Listen, we've seen the last couple of weeks that things get hairy real quick with these guys, and there's a lot of guys going for broke. I feel like it's more lately than it's been in the last few seasons because there's just a lot more people taking a lot more chances, and I feel like this is an opportunity for the last race of the season to see one last virtual safety car. But again, right, there's a lot on the line, and there's a lot of people that are going to be trying to take spots, especially early in this race, which those first few laps, or at least the first lap, right? That's where you're primed for an accident to happen. Once it gets stretched out, not so much. But yeah, I mean, we've seen it the last few weeks that just something happens, a quick touch here, a drive off the track there, and all of a sudden we're behind a virtual safety car. So this is an opportunity for you to be happy instead of pissed off when it comes out.
It's been a few months since I've looked at this market, Rod. Is it the same market for a virtual safety car versus the full safety car, or is a full safety car an entirely separate bet? I don't know if you happen to see.
No, so check your books because there are some that will specify, like Caesars, as virtual safety cars. So it's not the same as a full safety car. So definitely check your books because some books say safety car, and that means that it is the full safety car. So yeah, you got to pay attention to that when you're betting on other books.
Yeah, important to look at, and something we're not used to in the NASCAR world, where any little thing that happens, we're setting the full pace car out, we're resetting everything. Even doesn't matter if it's a 3.5 mile road course, we're running through it all. We're virtual safety car. Yeah, we're going to put it out for 10 seconds, and okay, the safety car is away, and we're good to go again.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Either way, it'll be fun to watch. Top tier motorsport in December, and we talked about the off season, how it feels so long when we're in it, and man, I just want to see them Cup Series cars racing on track again. We get through this. We get through the holiday season. All of a sudden, Clash is right around the corner. We got some good winter events too. Snowball Derby has some stuff that'll be going on. Good old Chili Bowl out there, going to be running in January, and racing coming back around the corner. But of course, the racing is the least of this exciting stuff that we've all got going on across the board. Seth, always lots of fun going on here at In Between Media.
100%, man. Fantasy football, NFL betting coverage continuing to roll on. Also some college football stuff over there at in-betweenmedia.com. PGA just around the corner as well, so keep your eye out for that. And some entertainment betting. Holidays, big time for the box offices and the Rotten Tomato scores. So we also have our shows over there covering that with popcorn and root beer. So a lot of ways to continue to build that bankroll even when we don't have cars on track. Easiest way to support us, give this video a thumbs up. Also, make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you're new. And if you guys want more of us, head over there to the IBT Racing family as well. You're going to get entered into our regular size giveaways we're doing throughout the seasons. Also, you're going to get access to the betting model when the races are back, and then access into the entire Discord, chat with us, everything else going on, and our entire betting cards locked and loaded there for you. And just so much goodness happening over the next couple weeks. So excited for it all, man.
Yeah, always fun to watch, and it'll be fun to be in that Discord. But again, stuff going on over the winter. I came in late on this conversation, Rod, so forgive me if I'm plugging something that doesn't exist. But you guys were talking about maybe a little keeping an eye on those Snowball Derby odds over there on the NASCAR Gambling Pod side of things.
Yeah, so NASCAR Gambling Podcast is still going 3 days a week, all off season long, rather, covering F1. And yes, we'll have some Snowball Derby talk tomorrow as well. Yeah, and whatever racing tends to pop up, we'll have it there too. Make sure you're checking out my fantasy football podcast on Straight Out of Vegas AM. You can find that feed. I've been doing it all season long with my buddy Moonoff. And yeah, so you like sports.com, still slowly trickling out content on that as well.
Nice.
We love to see it. Again, best way to follow us. We got our X and Twitter handles right here. All the fun in the episode description. And thanks for having a lot of fun with us rolling on down the back road tonight. We will see you again next time.